All
All
right.
We are
right.
officially on the record, guys.
Yes,
All
we
right.
are.
Yes. So hey, in case this is going to go out to our Facebook Hell House LLC Fanatics group. So in case anybody doesn't know who we are, we're Jennifer and Marcel. We're J&M Explorations, but we're also the founders and admins of the wonderful Hell House LLC Fanatics Facebook group. Almost 3,000 strong. We've been going for a
And
year.
growing.
Yeah, you should. Every night we
We put
add
in
in
more people. It's
tons and
great.
tons more. So, but guess who we have with us today?
Who?
I don't think he needs too much of an introduction with our
No.
group, but we have the writer,
Director.
creative genius, our Lord and Savior of the group,
That's right.
Mr. Stephen Cognetti. I'm so happy to.
Oh, that introduction was a little too much. But no, it's funny. Thanks, guys, and thanks for doing this. I know your group is very awesome. I stay away from it because, as I said, I want everyone to just give an objective opinion without having to worry about me seeing it or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I love that it's there, and I encourage people just to give their piece, give their thoughts on it, no matter critical, however critical possible. And I love that it exists for people to talk about these films. And I appreciate everybody just caring so much to do this. For you guys to care so much to create the group and for people to participate in the group just means that it means the world to me that this exists and that people are talking about the films. Because when you make a movie, you just hope that it finds an audience at all. And the fact that it has found an audience, it's such a great audience that I get to meet sometimes. I get to meet you and I get to meet other fans when I go places. It just it is so I cannot express how amazing that is and how humbling it is and just how appreciative I am that people just with this that they like these films and it means a lot to them and it means so much to me to know that. So thank you for creating the group and to everybody who's been participating in the group and just appreciates Hell House. Even all of our ups and downs, whatever you think, I just thank you so much for being there.
Yeah, 100%. We actually there are some other Hell House groups out there that are equally as wonderful.
Yeah.
We just decided to. We're like, let's just
We need our
because
own. We need our own.
we have a little obsession going. So
Yeah.
we're like,
No, that's great. Yeah, and I'm sure I've met people from other groups as well, and I'm sure there's probably crossover and stuff. And so just I've never had a bad experience meeting either Hell House fans or just horror fans in general. It just
yeah,
seems like and it's like horror is a family. It's that was always like a cliche kind of corny thing, but then the more I go out and meet other horror fans, and it's just like, yeah, we all just love horror, and it's just yeah, it does feel a family. And when there's new horror coming out, everybody gets excited. We talk about it. There's just so much, and we all appreciate it for different reasons. And obviously, there's critical reasons for we don't like some things about it, but I just love that discussion's always respectful and horror fans are just the best. And that's why I love making movies in this genre, just because the people are amazing. And I've always never had a bad experience meeting anybody, not just Hell House, but like horror in general. It's just awesome.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And we
Yeah,
thank you for doing this. And this was actually your idea when we told you after the last time we seen you that people had a lot of questions and you said I'd be more than happy to do a Zoom and
Yeah, it's
answer
because
those
it's
questions.
that, as I said, it's the very least I could do for people who have been so amazing. To be watching Hell House and all and just be excited for what we have coming out. So I was like, of course, love to take some time to answer any questions that we didn't have time to jump
Right.
on that day because as I said, Angie was very she's like, you only get this time to answer the questions.
Yeah.
That's it. So
yeah,
I would have stayed there all night. I love hanging out in there.
yeah.
And so
And Angie's in the group too. So we're so thankful to Angie as well. She's like a rock star.
she
Yeah.
oh, Angie's the best. So like and I said this on many interviews that I Hell House would not be what it was if I didn't find Angie. And
Mhm.
meeting her and getting the tour of the Waldorf and finding out just how the script was going to work inside of her
Mhm.
space was a meeting that just fortuitous or just nothing, it wouldn't have happened the way it did if not for meeting Angie and her and what she does and her being such a big part of one, two, and three. So and
Yeah.
still on four and five, like she's still been so helpful in any way she can. And there's this awesome scene in the fifth one in Lineage that it's an opening scene that I love. It's probably my favorite sequence in all of the films, and it happened because of inside of a location that Angie secured for us. So again, like she's still like helping in every way and being like such a major part of the franchise. So yeah, she's the best.
She's amazing. And I know we're going to get to the questions from the group, but you just said something that I think I've mentioned to you
I know.
before, just how to me watching the director's cut and watching you with Angie and you're going from room to room to room. And to me, I just was so inspired by that because you just entered every room you entered.
Yep. And you saw the scene in your head.
You had it in your
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like watching it come to life.
Yeah.
And I can't even express how amazing that was to us. So thank you for
no, I
that.
was happy that got out there because I remember when we wanted to release the this cut and have some features on it. I remember I had that footage. I was like, oh yeah, I remember I took a video camera with me when I first went to the Abaddon and or the Waldorf. And I just thought that would just be interesting to see for people to see how it looked when I first came upon it and and then Angie had read the script by the time I met her. So we were able to collaborate like what rooms for each scene. And she would show me, what do you think about this room for Paul's room and for Sarah's room? And that was a fun process for me to see, because I get giddy, like it's like a little kid, like, oh yeah, like we can do this here and do that. So I was happy that we got a lot of that on video and that was back in like 2013 because we didn't shoot till 2014.
Right.
But yeah, but there you could just see how, for me, how important meeting Angie was and it because then all this script I've been working on for like 2 years and trying to perfect. Now I'm seeing where it's going to be shot, and for me it was just
Yeah.
I love that coming upon like when you only have things in your head, but then you're seeing it in person, like oh, this is where this is going to happen. It's just so yeah.
Right.
No, I hear what you.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Same thing happened when I found the Carmichael Manor. I was like,
oh my God.
Right?
I walked through there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my, I hope they let me shoot here. And thankfully they did. But I was walking through there. I was just like drooling. I was like, we can do so much here.
That place is awesome. And it takes on a whole nother like vibe at night.
Oh, when you're there at night. Oh
yeah. Because those it's kind of like the way the lighting is. It's just like it's not modern. It's not like recess, beautiful lighting everywhere. It's kind of old lamp, and those old Tiffany lamps are everywhere, and they kind of give out that lighting, that vibe. That's just that is kind of creepy. It's not because it's not overlit, and that's what makes it perfect to shoot in too. Because we can use some of the lights they have, and then supplement with our own camera lights and everything like that. But also just keep that creepy vibe going. I always love the shots at night in Origins, looking down the hallway.
Yes.
The way the lights is that they have pockets of lights, and there's shadowy, and that's like, I think that's even like the description in the script. It's like that you're walking in and out of these pockets of light going down the hallway. When you point the camera down, we did it twice. Obviously, when Chase is being pursued by the clown as he's walking out of the room, he points back, and you see that lighting's perfect. But also when Catherine is at the end, when she looks down the hallway, and the cloak comes by. It's that long shot down the hallway, and you just have that one light and down that long hallway. Visually, I love the hallways, and I love the lighting in the hallways. To what you're saying, at night, it looks amazing.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry, I'm getting off a tangent.
That's
as you know, you saw me at the Abaddon. You know I can go on tangents. So
you are not getting off topic. Everything is perfect. So as you know, so we have this group. So the group comes from all over. We've got people who are local to the East Coast. We have people all the way out on the West Coast. Yes, overseas now. There's a growing fan base across the pond, right?
Yeah.
So we know
which is awesome. There's one tangent I want to go on is I feel so bad because there are a lot of people in the UK that are Hell House fans, and they always reach out to me. They're like, "Hey, is I hear you talking about theatrical, but what about us in the UK?
I
And I feel so
know.
bad because like I'm not in control of that. I'm like it should be, or like and sometimes I get requests like if am I ever going out to any conventions out in the
Mhm.
UK? But I'm not. But that is so cool to know that across the Atlantic, there is a small but growing, I guess, fan base of horror fans, obviously, but Hell House in particular. That's so cool, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's like, right? Because they would love to attend one of these events. We're
Yeah.
lucky enough that we live, what, 4 hours
Yeah.
away. So we're able to get in the car and speed down there. But a lot
Do you
of
drive like
people,
this? Do you, like it's I don't
Thankfully, I
he
drive.
drives,
Thankfully.
he's the driver. So all we have to do is listen to him like yell at people the whole way down there. But
Oh yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, we just visited last 2 days ago too, because we can't, it draws us
Wait,
back.
we were in Spring City. We were close enough. I mean, we were within an
Like,
hour and
gotta
15 minutes away.
gotta take a little detour.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, the town of Aberdeen draws people in all the time.
exactly.
We're gonna you'll see that theme touched on a little bit in Lineage. So
Yeah, perfect.
Great.
So, so since that we have these people from all over, so we want to give them that opportunity since they sometimes get that chance like we do. And so,
that's awesome. Yeah, no, I'm so happy to do this. So please, let's.
yes, so we've been very lucky to sit in on several Q&As with you.
Mhm.
And so some of the questions are things that we already know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we definitely want to present.
Yeah, that's right. Because I met you guys at the first time I did a Q&A at the Abaddon.
Yes,
Really fun. Was that the one that was outdoors? And we were
It
under.
was outdoors.
that's
We were
yes,
under.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Adam was
Yeah.
there
yeah.
the first one,
Okay.
And then we
right? Adam
slept
was
in the
there the first
basement.
one, right?
Then we slept in the basement.
We
No,
slept in
Adam
the
was there
basement.
the summer one. He wasn't. There are two different ones, but because I've done this, the one we just met at. That's the third time I've done this.
Mhm.
Right. The
First
second
time
one
was
we
the
were
one we
at.
were outdoors and we were under the what's that? What do you call that? That
The awning,
veranda that's
yeah,
Yeah, whatever
that
that
people
is.
wait in line in to get inside the Abaddon.
pavilion.
Yeah, yeah. And then the one Adam was at was when we did a Q&A. It was like
Oh, mhm.
and it was more toward the side, like kind of like, and there was
Yes.
there was something else going on. It wasn't really a Hell House centric
Yes.
event.
Yeah,
It
it was
was
like Hell
Hell
House
House
Paracon.
Paracon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hell House
yeah.
Paracon.
And that does sound like a Hell House centered event, but it was centered, but like
Yeah.
we call
There
it
was a
Hell House
lot
Paragon.
of
But it wasn't. There was like a lot of just a lot of Q&As, different people, a lot of
Yeah.
horror.
Mhm.
Paracon investigators came, people with cool merch. I
Yeah.
remember, yeah. But anyways, again, I'm getting so sidetracked.
That's okay. Well, so I wanted to just start off with a question from Amy Vestal Bumpus. And her question is, what inspired the storyline of this franchise?
Yeah, that's a good question. And yeah, I think I mentioned this to you guys when I saw you. I thought the idea of a haunted house gone wrong was just cool. All right. So that's the seed, right? And so the seed has to grow over time. And that's how I always tell, that's how writing is. It is a seed that grows in your head over time. You can't just have this idea and then you're like, oh, I'm going to start writing. No, you have to let it like just grow inside your head. And so, but that's the seed is what happens if if a Halloween tour went wrong? And over time, it developed into what we know today. But a few things had to happen first. One of them was finding that abandoned house in Rockland County.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And that really just kind of got the story kickstarted. Like, boom, like more of it's formulating in my head. And finding that abandoned house that you guys saw in person in Rockland County, because it wasn't too far away from where I lived in New York City at the time, up in Washington Heights, which is right across the river, or it's right at the GW Bridge and across the river from Rockland County. And so I found that house, and then it was like, ooh, okay, we have haunt makers, and they leave the city for some reason, and they come out to Rockland County, and I'm coming upon this abandoned house years, and in my head, I'm pretending this is what's going on, and I found this abandoned house. I'm finding this years after the event. Something happened, some unexplained event happened, and now I'm finding it in this like abandoned state. And so I'm thinking, what happened in this house? And and then to start backtracking from there, that's where the story comes from. And then so I wrote out a few drafts. Some of them I weren't happy about. But then one thing I saw on YouTube that really focused how I should start the movie was that I saw on YouTube the real video of the real life tragedy of the fire up at
The station.
Station nightclub. Yeah,
Yeah,
Station
Rhode
nightclub
Island.
fire.
Yep.
And something was just so terrifying about seeing that in real life. But the fact that there was a video from inside the fire, someone taping the band, someone
Oh,
videoing the band, and they saw everything from start to end. The struggle to get out. It's so horrifying to watch, and that scared me, thinking like, just seeing that how claustrophobic it must feel if you're like, your life's in danger, but you can't get out because it's just
yeah.
such, everybody's trying to do it. But also, what really stuck with me was, how do you know something is wrong? When do you know something is wrong? And that was something that definitely happened in that fire. Was a lot of the pyrotechnics, when they start malfunctioning, people didn't know they were malfunctioning. They just thought it
Right.
was all part of the show. And so
Right.
that was something that a scary, terrifying theme that I brought into Hell House, which was, when something goes wrong, and when do you know, when would you actually, and a lot of people don't, they wouldn't know. So when people are screaming, we have to get out, most of the people, even in the real life fire or in something that's fiction, like a haunted house tragedy, they'll say, haha, I know that's not true. I know it's just, so I kind of blended that real life tragedy in with the fictitious one, because I think it's just a scary thing, a real life thing that happened. But also, I think that's a real fear that people have of, like, in those enclosed spaces with groups of people, whether it be haunted houses or small venues of anything. It's just like, where are the exits? And so there's a bit of just real life inspiration there, but also just complete fictional inspiration of finding, that Rockland County house, and just wanted to go from there. Again, long answer. Promise I won't spend an hour on each of these answers, but yeah, but that's pretty much how the 2 years of my life before going into production, that's how everything kind of evolved and came together.
That's
And it
really,
does work too,
yeah.
because when you see the people running out of Hell House, you
Yeah,
can feel their angst. You know what I mean?
Right.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
feel it that they want to get out. Let me
yeah.
out.
That's
Right.
the thing. I mean, like, because when you're in those confined spots, and once everybody realizes, oh, something is wrong, it turns into a stampede, then it bottlenecks, and now everybody can get out, and that to me is terrifying.
Mhm.
And I know it's terrifying to a lot of people too. But obviously, if you take out the fire aspect and just add in something of paranormal, which is more what I like. I like paranormal stories. But I did, when we were making that movie, and the original, and we had all these extras there, and I was trying to explain to them what their motivation is. I'm like, just pretend you are in this hotel where you don't really know where you're going. It's on fire. That's like, it is on
Mhm.
fire. Like, don't worry about ghosts. Like, don't worry. You don't have to know about that. Don't, like, this, what the story is. All you have to know is this place is on fire, because that's really the real life, I think, fear that a lot of us have,
Yeah.
Right.
that has
Exactly.
happened in reality, and is being in some place that's on fire, or active shooter or something, and you can't get out. That is just scary. So that was something that the real life tragedy I use as a motivator for what the extras should be doing and how they should be reacting.
Yeah. The extras did such a great job
Yeah,
in
They
that.
did, yeah.
I've heard you talk
absolutely.
about kind of directing people who aren't exactly actors or don't have any real acting experience. And
Yeah.
so, just a question that I have really quickly is, how difficult was that scene to shoot? And I heard a rumor that there were no injuries, right? Nobody got injured in that.
No, nobody got, at least I don't know. But so I no, I thought that the only chance of injury would be the person holding the camera in that scene. So that's why I wanted it to be me,
Yes.
because I jokingly always say, like, because I'm not going to sue myself. So I made sure that in that scene, one of the rare times I was actually holding the camera was in all that chaos stuff, and when the camera falls to the ground in the kitchen and all that stuff spilled over. But it was tough, and that was all hands on deck. Everybody from, like, our digital media people and sound people were just helping out in every way, because it was so, we have so many, we had about 100 extras. They had to be divided into groups doing different things. We had to shoot it from different angles. So the whole thing about that is we had to shoot it from the perspective of how we open the film, and also the perspective of, like, the different parts we see later on in the film too. So we have to make sure we get all the coverage we need of it. So to answer your question, very complicated. Also getting the help of the fire department, EMTs, to
Right.
strategically roll in right when the camera's running out, and we used an air horn on that. So right when we come out, Adam or Joe or somebody had an air horn, they go, "Rrr," and that would be the fire department's cue to start rolling down. And so it thankfully worked out, and they were able to give us their resources. We couldn't keep them long, obviously, because
Yeah.
but it was probably the most difficult logistically of the whole series to shoot.
Yeah.
And just because it was just, yeah, it was complicated.
It was flawless to me. And I really appreciated how you did it. We were able to see that scene twice,
Yeah.
the first time, and then the second time kind of putting the pieces together, which was really cool.
Yeah, seeing it from a different perspective, that same scene from a
Yep.
different perspective.
Yeah.
That was the whole point. Yeah. So, and then and then showing parts. What I did is I spliced in parts of when you first saw it, just so you knew where you were in the timeline and how it compared to what you had already seen too. But yeah, I love doing that. Showing a sequence in one instance, and then later on seeing it from a completely different perspective, which is it's kind of like the whole theme behind 825 Fourth Road as well.
I was just going to say that. You beat me to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I guess on a bigger scale, but no, but that made editing Hell House so much fun for me. I had so much fun, but it took me a long time to edit that film because I was trying so many different things with the edit.
Right.
And I wanted to edit edit it like a documentary. So I took some editing classes when I was in school, and I had an instructor who was a documentary editor, and the way they go about editing is the very last draft of the story, and I went about it that way. So even if things are scripted that way, I can try things and mold things differently because it's supposed to be a documentary. So if you edit like a documentary, you can move things around and do whatever we need to serve the greater purpose of the story. So I had a lot of fun trying different things with that. One of the most fun edits I had when I did it, I was like, oh, I love this moment. I'm so happy I came up with it. And it's at the end when Diane is walking through the Abaddon, and she goes up and she presses the key of the piano, and we had that quick cut to Paul doing it. And
Yes.
I just loved that so much because it was bringing everything around
Right.
the tragedy that happened. They're exploring it, 5 years after the fact when Hell House was there. So we're just seeing those little glimpses of when Hell House was there, and they go into the bar. You see them hanging out at the bar. Just
I love that.
yeah, little things like that. I loved doing that in the edit, and I was able to do it because it's a documentary. So there's things you can get away with, which you can't get away with in typical found footage. But you can do it when your found footage is presented as a doc. You can get away with these little narrative moments. So, anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the question was.
So you mentioned that you were the one holding the camera. You were actually in the movie. So it transitions a little bit to this question that Joe T. Howe has. And he says, Stephen, is there any chance you'll make an appearance in any of your upcoming movies?
I only do it. I would only do it if we had to. I like hiring actors to do that. I like staying behind the camera. I have, as they say, face built for radio. So I don't like putting myself in front of the camera. But I would say there is a glimpse of me in the original. And not just holding the camera, but it's towards the end. You know that scene where they're walking, like Danny, Alex, and Mac are arguing after Paul disappears, and they say, "Well, has anyone called his phone?"
Yeah.
And he tried to go, and he throws it down. As they're walking through the kitchen in that argument, Alex throws a snake to one of the employees there, just sitting there in the kitchen with like a chef's hat on. That's me. So he throws it and I just catch it and I'm like, what the heck?
Good trivia.
How awesome an actor I am. Look how awesome I am. Like, what the heck?
That's a good.
How dare you? So as you can see, I'm an awesome actor. I would love to work myself into it. No, I don't do that like Hitchcockian
Stephen King
and Shyamalan thing, where put yourself in it. I would only do it, like, the only time I've ever done it is because, like, we just don't physically have a person to stand here and catch that snake from Alex, or I'm only doing the camera work because I don't want someone getting injured, because I could see running around with this camera you can trip easily because you're focusing. So I'm like, I'll do that. I only do it out of need, out of necessity, not for any. I have no desire to get in front of the camera. So, to answer that question.
Oh, so do you have one to ask?
Yeah,
I
I'll
have,
ask one.
and then
I
I
gotta put my
have,
glasses
yeah.
on here,
So
though.
Marcel has a question.
Let me see. I wrote down a few here. So why did you decide to call the franchise Hell House?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I love that because I picture Alex. I kind of always pictured modeled after myself and my own desire and struggle to get a feature film made, and everything he went through in getting Hell House off the ground. I kind of feel like I was going through getting the movie off the ground, the movie
Mhm.
Hell House off the ground. So one of the things I gave to Alex was he called his company Hell House, and I love that. And he named it fictitiously off of what I would have done, which is he named it after his favorite novel, which is Hell House by Richard Matheson.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So I kind of feel like, while I am the biggest diehard Stephen King fan of all time, my intro, literarily, book-wise, to horror was Richard Matheson's Hell House, and it was so inspiring to me because that is a haunted house movie like no other. I love, I'm sorry, a novel like no other. It is terrifying. I just didn't know literature can scare like that. And then obviously I started reading King. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
okay. Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
can. Okay.
Oh, I get it.
But that was like my intro. So I kind of had that as like a fun tease for like, just if then Alex, then of course, his favorite novel is Hell House. So he would name his company after Hell House. And then the LLC part was just to let people know that Hell House is supposed to be, it's a company and this is a
Yeah.
business for Alex. And it's just to kind of hammer home that put that, to put that in the title is to let people know we're talking about a business here and not, also, I didn't want to have any legal issues
Right.
with
Right,
the actual Hell House itself just on its own. So if you put the LLC there, you're safe on that end. So
Yeah.
it served two purposes, yeah. But that's the origin of the title.
Cool.
so we have so Brittany in our group, she warned everybody. She's like, do not ask Stephen for spoilers. I think the number one like spoiler question we get is where's Mitchell? And
Yep.
then so we have one person who did have a spoiler, but we know you won't answer it. But I
Yeah.
wanted to give a shout out to Amanda Fasciano because she is a
Oh no,
huge.
I know her. She and
You know,
I she and
Writer,
I
so
converse on
yeah.
Instagram a
yep,
lot. She's a writer.
yep,
So she and I have been conversing ever since the original Hell House has come out because she's such a big supporter of the movies. And she's just like such a good person. But yeah, she and I have talked over Instagram a lot, and so I think she knows that I wouldn't give a spoiler away. So
I
I
know.
she'd ask me.
But she wants to know. Okay, her question is: would you please tell us what Russell said to Vanessa when he was first?
Actually, we've heard that a lot from different
That's a lot
people.
of people ask that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. The only reason I don't want to give that away is because, in case there is something that I would do later on, not movie wise,
Yeah.
but as we talked about, like if there's ever novelization or anything like that,
Right.
that I would want it to come out then. But I think you can figure out the gist of what was said just
Yeah.
by watching the context and what she does right after that.
Right.
It spurred her into action. So she know what was told to her, she was some spurred her into action to know something was up. She knew something was up enough to be like, oh, we got to go talk to Father Paulus. We got to go do a lot of things.
Right.
I know Russell. This is not nothing is as it seems right now because of what he told her.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
so I just think he let her in on some things. He probably actually kind of like mirroring our conversation right now. He probably some spoilers. He let some spoilers go. So to her. So but not so directly. It was enough for her to kind of understand the coded messaging he was giving her in a way. He didn't directly say like this is what's going to happen, blah blah blah, but he
Yeah.
said it in a
Yeah.
way to let her know that, and it was more you can interpret it as a warning, to maybe you shouldn't be there on
Mm,
opening night, or you
mhm.
can interpret it as making sure she's ready for it so she can take action if needed.
Right,
So
right.
there's a lot of things, but I think he said what he said to her. I remember I did actually write it scripted out in the first draft of that what he said. Like it was in the script and it was something that we were supposed to have on camera and hear it. But then I took it out as a mystery. So, but that's pretty much what it was. It was kind of just uh, giving away some of the game to her, but not enough for her to
Mhm.
pique her curiosity, but without directly saying this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some things like that scene is better left interpretation,
Yeah.
left to interpretation. So
Yeah,
Plus, it makes our group really active
that's
because
right.
there's
Because
all
everybody
kinds
talks
of
about it.
theories.
Oh, this is what
Oh,
I think. Oh,
there's
this is what I think.
people
So yeah, it's
just
great.
yeah,
love it. They
yeah.
love the mystery. They
Yeah.
love the subtle
Yeah, I would
scares.
say less is more, and the more, and I think that makes it fun for the audience of any fiction is when they get to, yeah, kind of fill in some of the blanks themselves, give in their interpretation of the context that's going on. I think that's a lot of fun. I have fun doing that for fiction myself, and when I get to just think like, oh, my theory on this is this, rather than just having it told to me. So I think that's a
Yeah.
lot. That's what I loved
Yeah.
about the series Lost.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I love
so
that
that's
too.
why I
good.
was
Yeah.
obsessed with Lost, and I would just and Monday or the day after it aired, an episode aired, I would be researching things, and like that's a lot of fun.
That sounds like
That's
us.
who else does
Yeah,
that?
I do it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean,
So
it's a mystery, and you want to be able to solve a mystery, and
Yep.
mysteries are fun. Mysteries aren't fun if they're like this is what the mystery. It's not a mystery then, so.
right, right. And so then you had just sort of mentioned what we talked about at the last Q&A, and that was the question that Naomi Skolnick
Oh yeah.
asked you. And so I thought we'd just like, since you just mentioned it, I thought I'd ask it again just so that
Yeah, yeah, of
everybody can
course.
kind of hear her answer. So she got a prize too.
She did.
We sent her a Abaddon keychain
Oh
and a
yeah,
Waldorf a state of fear bag because we were so happy that she participated. But
yeah.
she said, did you ever think about creating a book to go along with the movies? It can explain the backstories and maybe add more info for all of us that can't get enough of the story.
Yeah. And what I said was 100%. I've thought about that for so long. And the reason of that is because, I mean, the biggest reason I think why I'm not making another Hell House is because it is such a daunting
Mm.
thing for me to do. These movies are very like to this day right now, like Lineage. I'm dealing with so many things on it right now, even though it's handed in. But it's just because they're so low budget, and the things that I want to pull off, it's just on this low budget. It's a year and a half to 2 years of just constant and with not a lot of money, therefore, so not a lot of support. Um, so I think because movie making is so daunting on these super low budgets, which Hell House is, I've always thought like, oh, maybe there's a possibility I can explore some of these storylines that I've introduced, but do it in a novelization form.
Mm-hmm.
And also like and kind of like a graphic novel thing. Because I do love, I do like getting concept art for my scripts made. So I love concept art, and Origins had some of it. And I had a lot of concept art for 825 and a few other movies. But when you have a good visual artist, you can not just write a novel, but you could also add some visualization to it too. So
Mm-hmm.
when I say graphic novel, I don't mean like kind of comic book style,
Right.
but more just like it's one of my first uh, copies of The Stand. My Stephen King, my favorite novel is Stephen King, The
Mm-hmm.
Stand. It was this giant 1,200-page book, but like every few chapters there would be a picture in it. So he had a concept artist make some art for some of the story in there. But I would do that, and I would do something like that, but then have it more widespread, like a lot of art depicted. Because at the end of the day, I'm a visual person. I'm a filmmaker. I'm not a novelist. So
Right.
and that's the thing. I'm not a novelist. That's probably the reason it has been done because I'm not good at that. But if I ever did something more in the written world that I would want to include visualizations too, just because that's my style. So I wouldn't
Right.
just do something that's just words only. I would love to add the visuals to that. So you at least get an idea of what what the story that I'm talking about kind of would look like. That's the thing is just these movies have been very so rewarding and I love making them, but they're very daunting and tough to do on this limited budget. So that's why moving on to something literary is an option that I have thought about. Whether or not I do that is another question, but it's something to her point is something that I have thought about. Yeah, for sure.
Right. And that transitions to Jeremy DeWitt's question, because he said, Stephen, there's so much more to this story. Do you really have to end after lineage?
Yeah, we've heard that a few times, maybe
Like,
a few hundred.
oh,
No,
man.
and talking to fans and think just like his question, and that makes me feel bad because I know that these movies mean something to people, and so I hate saying
Yeah.
like, well, no more. That just makes me sound like the Grinch. Um, so that makes me, I do feel bad about that. That's why I do want to open up the possibility of telling more of the story, either through literature or even if there's the possibility of someone else making them outside of me, I could explore that too. Although I'd probably be less open to that just because, I can't imagine
Kind of
someone
It's
else
your,
making Hell
your
House. I can't
baby.
imagine someone else making Hell House. I mean, I'd be so
Yeah.
sad. It would be like even I don't care what amount of money came into that, I'd still be like, it's
yeah.
mine.
Aw.
So,
Well, aw. So we don't want you to feel bad. We think that whatever you go on to create, like whatever, and you sort of gave us a little hint at the last Q&A, which I'll
yeah,
ask you about, but whatever you go on to do, you already have this like broad fan base that is just
Yeah.
going to follow you and do and just really enjoy anything that you do, you know.
that's so nice to say, and that means so much to me. And that's why I think it's not that I'm done making horror. So I have this horror movie that we're trying to get off the ground right now, and we're trying to cast right now, and I'm in love with it. It's such a good concept, and it's something I wrote this right after I finished Origins and I edited Origins and I handed it in, and I was just in this very good space in my head, and I just was in a spooky space, and I had this cool concept, and I wrote it out, and it was I was so in love with it, and so we have some people attached, a production company attached, and we're trying to get it. It's going to probably be announced soon, but right now we're doing some behind the scenes things of trying to get some people attached, and then we'll make an announcement. This one's really cool. So what I'm saying is that like I'm not stopping Hell House and stopping horror. I think people are going to love this film once we get into production, which I'm hoping is sometime soon.
Yeah.
I love this story so much, and the
I
scare.
think you mentioned it
Yeah.
at the Q&A,
Yeah.
right? Didn't you mention it
Yeah.
at
I
the
did,
Q&A?
but since this is going to be a little more widely, this is
Yeah.
going to be online. I don't want to say the name of it just
Keep
yet.
it, keep
Yeah.
it on the
Yeah.
DL.
Yeah.
Shush.
No,
But you
I
I'm
mean,
can,
saying-
I could talk about. I'm working on. I just don't want to say the name of it
Right.
just yet.
No.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it's going to be announced. Hopefully within the coming months, sometime over the summer. So,
Right.
but I don't even know if I'm even. So the thing is, because I don't even know if I'm allowed to say what it is. So
Yeah,
that's why I
yeah.
just feel like I'm working on something. It's spooky. We're going to production pretty soon. So yeah, no, I get it. But like, I think Hell House is its own thing, and I hate saying that I'm done making them, but I want to say that well, also I want to say that I think a lot of mysteries, I think where lineage is going, it doesn't, I think I told you it doesn't end. So it doesn't, so obviously I think that sentiment will be greater once you see lineage, that like, oh, we hope there's more, because the way it ends
Right.
is very open-ended. It doesn't
Mhm.
really just end like, like high five, we won the day. Now, Abaddon is no more, and
I just got a visual.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they did, but it is a little open-ended, and you could tell there, and you could tell that what I originally when I made Origins, that was the first, and this is the second of what was supposed to be a trilogy of films. And obviously I'm not going to be able to make the third one, but when I knew I was going to be able to make the third one, I tried to incorporate as much as I could into lineage. So it's not just such a middle movie with like
Mhm.
that doesn't answer anything. This does answer a lot, and
Mhm.
but it's just it doesn't end on like a perfect like think of Lord of the Rings sailing off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
Right.
like this, even though that's not really where that was one of the endings of Lord of the
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
the it kept on ending and ending and ending.
Right.
But it's what I'm saying. It's just not this like cute bow handed storyline just wrapped up into a bow. Uh, so I think that sentiment will be more after seeing Lineage, but I
Mhm.
think there's be a lot of fun things answered, and they will explain a lot of one, two, and three, and four more, and shed a
Yeah.
lot of light on all of them more. When you see Lineage, you'll be happy you got some mysteries answered, but also you'll be like, but why did you stop there? I get that. And I'll also say is, and I think I said this there. I would never say never. I'm not saying there's never
Right.
going to be
Right.
another Hell House. Like
Mhm.
circumstances could easily change, but for right now, it's just not feasible for me
Yeah.
right now. And I don't mean because of the other projects I'm working on. It's just I just don't have it in me to make another one. It's just like this
Yeah.
last one was such a daunting one, and it was um, I'm still in debt. Like I'm making this stuff. So like
Mhm.
it's just so low budget and such a burden on me and my tiny little production company that it's like if everything stays the same, I cannot make another Hell House. And so it probably will stay the same. So therefore I don't think I will make another house, but that could change. So
Well, I think even by leaving it a little
Yeah.
open-ended,
I was
right?
just going to say
You're
that.
going to say
It's
that.
better than the ribbon and, boom, it's over.
yeah,
When
Yeah.
everybody's
yeah,
like,
maybe it is.
oh, it's
I hope
over.
that's how everyone sees it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
how I
very
see it.
optimistic way.
that's how we see it.
Yeah.
And it'll help keep the group going forever and ever
That's
because
right.
people will just keep on. We've even and I know Phil asked you about fan fiction,
Yeah.
and I know that we've had people talk about fan fiction. Um, you know, leaving it kind of open would
Mhm.
people could
Exactly. Can fill
yeah.
in what they like. That's everyone's interpretation of where it's going. That's what I love. I love everyone having their own idea of it. You're right. I think leaving it open-ended would inspire a lot of that.
And a lot of conversation.
Yep.
A lot of theories and conversation. All right.
Got
So
another
But
one?
yeah,
I
well,
will be interested to know what people think of the ending when they see it. So, because this ending is it's different and it is going to inspire that question, what happens next?
Yeah.
So much so I would be interested to know. Let me know what people think after they see it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Oh,
Definitely.
we
talk about
will
it.
definitely.
So,
So Allison Werger, she's from the great city of New Orleans,
Yep.
and she puts down that she goes when we asked for questions, she said, "My brain just broke." She said, "I have so many questions." So she asked a bunch of. She got it together, and she asked a bunch of questions, but they were all kind of the
Yeah, we won't ask those.
spoiler questions. But she did ask something that I thought was interesting. And she said, "Is the whole series the ultimate Faust?"
oh, you could see it that way, definitely. I think that's why I picked Faust. So, and I think while I didn't have that directly in my head when I wrote the original, it was definitely in my head going into two and three after that, and that I think there is such a parallel there. So, not originally in my head, but definitely I saw that after writing and completing the original, I did see that parallel, and then wanted to work it in more directly into the storyline after that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel like that's what Alex sort of fell into, right? He
Yep.
had that pull between good and
Yeah.
evil and sort of
And I kind
selling.
of feel that's why Russell does it, and
Mhm.
he knows it too. He knows, and so it's when he does Faust in there, it's kind of like he's trolling the
Right,
forces in
right.
there, like because he knows that that's exactly what happened. So
Mm-hmm.
um,
That's
Russell, I said Russell, yeah, but when Russell does
yeah,
that,
yeah, Russell.
yeah,
Yeah. And we love that in throughout the whole series, and I'm hoping also in Lineage that you've thrown in for those that of us that are huge fans, you always throw in like cool little Easter
yeah,
eggs that were like
I know.
right.
Yep.
that we
Like the old sweater.
the sweater, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, the
just so
sweater.
many
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that with Jason.
Everybody
Yeah.
loves that
I was
in the
like,
group.
that is Stephen like tipping his hat to like the
Yeah.
people who are really
The
into
OG.
that.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
feel that way. And some people read into it and, they'll say, which maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out, maybe there's things that have been thrown in there that will ultimately have like be explained or whatever. But I'm like, that's a cool little nod to
Yeah.
the fans. And I really enjoy that you do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I think there are a couple of things like that to watch out for in Lineage, for sure. But it's so funny when
you want to
when
ask?
Chase and Rebecca read those lines, they're like, "What does it mean? What does an old sweater mean?" I'm like,
I know.
"Did you not watch the original?" And they're like, "Ah, I watched it. I just missed that line." And I was like, "It's a reference to Sarah."
On. Yeah.
So I don't know that this is a spoiler or if they even have any significance, but a lot of people have asked about the numbers on the wall going down to the basement.
Yeah.
Do they have any significance at all? Okay, that says yes.
Marcel,
You don't have to say what they
we're not
are.
supposed to ask
You don't have to
spoilers.
say.
Moving along.
But a lot of people ask, so I ask.
I know. I have a silly one.
Okay.
To ask. So this is from Chloe Massey, she's got some really great things to say. She
Is that the one
actually
we met at Penhurst?
No, we
Oh,
didn't
okay.
meet her.
Okay.
She said, thank you for Hell House. She was saying that directly to you, Stephen. And she said, man, I never thought I'd find a movie that I love so much. I actively seek out the actors and befriend those I have the courage to talk to. It's a grand total of 5. That's including the Waldorf folks. So with that being said, Phil and Angie and Melissa and Bailey, Karen, they're all so good to the fans when they come in.
Oh,
and so
Lauren Kennedy, she's a riot. I love her. She's such a nice person. Yeah.
Oh, she was supposed to show up to the one one of the ones we went to, and she didn't come.
Lauren Kennedy, anyone listening, plays Melissa, but yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, her question is, so it's a little silly, but I really like this question. She says, it was real rude to kill off David before he got his nachos. Okay. Please tell me he had an extra spicy plate waiting when he got to the pit, or I was thinking like to the pits of hell.
Yeah, of course.
He can have all the nachos he wants.
I think he's trapped forever at the Abaddon Hotel bar, having all the bar nachos he wants.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's not
being
bad.
served him by Paul. So
yeah. And then we had I have a couple of more questions, but I wanted to just mention a couple of people that we've got a lot of really active people, and Terry Gerald wanted us to say hello to you. He is the writer director of Harlow's Haunt.
Okay.
And he just wanted to express that your film has just been so inspirational to his own work. And so I wanted to mention that.
No, that's awesome. I love that. So he's kind of made his own haunt, and Alex's Hell House haunt was inspiring to him. Is that am I reading that right? Or
his film,
he made a film. I'm sorry, I thought he made a haunt.
He made a film, and he's working on the next installation.
Oh, that's so cool. Is it found footage? What's it about?
Yeah, it's called Harlow's Haunt.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's in that genre.
Yep.
It's good. It's really.
I will have to write that down in my Hell House notebook. My wife got it for me.
Where did you get a Hell House
notebook? Harlow's Haunt.
Harlow's Haunt. Yep. And then
that's awesome. And if Terry's listening to this, I would just when it comes to making horror films, just really focusing on those scares. Make sure those scares are, you want to make sure everyone, when people watch horror movies, they're there for the scares, so they have to work. And that's what I think took me the longest time on writing the original Hell House was just making sure those scares were there, and the beats were there. The scares were spread out. There were enough. I know people say Hell House is a slow burn. It doesn't really open up with too many scares or anything. It takes a while to get there, though. But find your pace, and just make sure the scares are good, and it will find an audience. If the scares are good, no matter where the film goes, if it's on Amazon, Tubi, whatever, it will find an audience. So it's great for me. One of my inspirations of another found footage movie when I was going into the production of Hell House was Lake Mungo. It was a movie I loved so much. So and they were the ones when Lake Mungo, I saw Lake Mungo maybe years before I went into Hell House though, but it was the first time I realized that not only do I love found footage, but I love found footage, fake documentary style found footage, and they did so well in Lake Mungo. So that definitely inspired me. It was a lot like when I was crafting a house, I was like, oh, like the doc style can be very scary if you do it right. So I definitely leaned into that a lot more because of what they did with Lake Mungo.
And I know one of the things that you've also said that in the past to me, and because I dabble a little in the writing.
She's really
and
good.
That you say, just keep on writing. Like, no matter if you think it's right. What is it that you say?
Oh, you got to get through all the early drafts are always going to be garbage. And so the first draft of everything is going to be garbage. But you have to finish it. You have to finish that draft. You have to finish that garbage to know what you have before you can start rewriting and see and know what works or what doesn't work. If you get stuck in the first act or the second act, and you're like, I just don't like it. That script is never going to get done. You have to power through it and finish it just to have a completed draft, knowing that that's not the draft you're showing to people trying to get made. That's the draft that's okay. We're done with draft 1. We know it's bad. I can go through this with a red pen, find out what works, what doesn't, and start fresh on draft 2. And the draft process is the most important process of writing because everything's going to get refined and better. The dialogue's going to get better. The scares are going to get better on draft 2, draft 3. So I just found any movie I've written from lineage on back, the last draft that we went into production with was just a vastly superior draft from tracing all the way back to draft 1. And I look at draft 1, I'm like, oh, like this is garbage, but I'm so happy I made this garbage because then I got to draft 15. It's perfect. And I would have never gotten here if I didn't start here. But I never finished it, never finished this garbage. So I always say, and nobody's first draft is good. That's nobody. Like Stephen King's first draft of his novels, he knows those aren't the ones that are not the people. But he gets through it. And that's the same way for screenplays too, is that your first draft is never a good draft, never the draft that's going to get sold to some company to be made. It's never the draft that's going to do it. It's always just the blueprint to start making better, refining the story, refining everything upon. So never to get discouraged. Finish it. If you don't finish it, then that can't happen.
Love it. That's where I get stuck. I just sort of I always say I lose my mojo. I get stuck, but just thank you for that inspiration.
And especially when you get stuck somewhere too. I mean, like everybody gets stuck somewhere, and it could be first act, second act, or in the third act though. But I always just find just like if I don't know where something goes, I take my time on it. I never want to rush anything. I'm not saying the draft has to be finished by like the end of this week. Give yourself time to really contemplate things. I go for runs. When I was living in New York City, like the subway, riding the subway up and down the A train back and forth every day to go to work. That was my zone where I was just living inside the script, where I was kind of like, anything was getting me.
Right.
Both for the script and also for the edit. I was stuck some places in the edit. So even when we were done shooting the movie, I got stuck in places where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to make this scene work. It's not there. And I'd just be riding the subway and thinking. And then eventually a light bulb goes off like, I get it. This is how I'm going to stitch this scene together and it's going to work. But some of these things are going to take time. In the writing process, it's going to take time. As you're stuck somewhere, think on it. And something will click eventually, or something you'll see will inspire you. Be like, oh, I love that. Maybe I should do something in that direction, So yeah, I get that. Sometimes you get stuck places, but never abandon something. Just always have it in your mind, So when you're on a long drive somewhere or something, I usually use long drives to really think about stories and start trying to flesh out those little seeds that are in my head. And so yeah, that happens all the time. I get it.
Yeah. Well, I knew there was something magical about the New York subway air.
Yeah.
Now I got my answer. So you got to see a small fraction. We didn't show you around our whole house because we have a lot of Hell House stuff in here. But my question is, do you have any like souvenirs from the movie or any props from the movie that you have kept? And if so, which one is your favorite?
See that I can grab. Probably my favorite. Oh, let me show you this one. The light. I love these cube lights, and they were all over the hotel in Lake of Fire.
Oh yeah,
And so I took one for myself.
Yeah.
nice.
Love it.
I like it because it's a good light. But I have a few cool things. So one of these, and I also have my wind line as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. I always keep this right next to me. This is the red ball we filmed with.
Oh,
So yeah, there's some cool things. Obviously you can't see it right here, but my closet has all the masks from all
Yes.
the different
Mhm.
from all, and not just like the mask we shoot with though, but it has all three masks, but aged three different ways. So the masks, how they were originally made in the 60s, and then how they looked when the 80s, and then how they look present day. So I needed those masks to be different ages, and I have all of them here, and it's such a cool, terrifies my 6-year-old.
I know.
He won't come into my office. He comes in my office and he goes, why is your closet open? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, close that. And he's like, oh, okay.
Well, that's great. We know how that is. I don't know if you've ever seen any footage of our house when we have the three clowns
Yeah,
up.
I did. Yeah.
My son, he's 15. You met Tim.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, he likes it though. He likes it. I think he
It's
enjoys
creepy
it.
at night,
He
though.
enjoys having it there. So
I just can't imagine someone who flies would have any fear of anything, especially that. So.
Yeah, true. Good point.
Yeah, he was so happy to meet you. He was just so thankful to get the
Oh, he's
chance
such a
to
good kid. That's awesome. Yeah.
So inspirational.
I'm just amazed by him that he does what he does at that age. It's just like, that's crazy and awesome.
Yeah, he's great. So we know the 825 Forest Road was really well received in the group. A few people were like, okay, but now we like the ending was sort of like, okay, we want more. And so will there be more of 825 Forest Road?
No, probably not. I keep on sounding like the Grinch, but I don't think that film was received well enough to even warrant it from a business standpoint. So, well, I appreciate people in the group if they liked it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think generally speaking, I've seen a lot of bad comments about it online. So I would love to. I do have a prequel idea in my head about when that all started, when the town started realizing they have a Helen problem. And it would be something that was back in like what happened in that town hall meeting when Helen killed the town council, and how that happened, how that all went down, seeing it, and not just seeing the artist's interpretation of that,
right?
Which was our low budget way of showing that. Damn it! Now I'm thinking about it. I really wish I was able to shoot that, but we can't.
Yeah,
we had no money on that. We had no money on that film. And that's why I just hate that. I hate these low budget. You want to do so much, but you can only do what your budget enables you to do. So there's a lot of things out there I wish I could have back, and it usually has to do with just like so limited resources. So, but no, I love the idea of doing more in 825. I just think it's very unlikely to happen.
Yeah. Well, they made, just so that you know, it made your fans were very happy.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
It's nice to have something from you too.
I wonder, did anybody like seeing Elizabeth Vanessa again in a different way?
Yeah, it took me a minute too. I was like, she's familiar because she looked a little bit different, but I know that I know when the film was filmed, so I know the timeline a little.
Yeah.
How when you actually filmed that movie, and we were like, remember we were like, that's
she looks familiar,
Vanessa. And so we're looking forward to seeing her more. We know maybe. I'm just saying,
right? Maybe.
It's well known. She's in Lineage. I'm not trying to hide the fact. Vanessa is back in Lineage, and she's, of course, she's fantastic. There's a reason why I wanted to work with her again. For a third time, because she's very good. Yeah.
But we wanted to thank you. I wanted to also thank, because just really when you think about all the people who work behind the scenes, from, electrical to camera, what you were talking about, to the sound design, artistic direction, costume, makeup,
cinematography,
just everybody,
everything. Yeah.
Just we want them to know as well that we truly appreciate all of the hard work that goes on behind the scenes.
So much of it. I mean, the work that Sophie does. She's the production designer in
Yes.
Sophie Schneider.
Sophie Schneider, yeah. I mean, she was on A25 Origins Now Lineage. So this is the third film we've worked on.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing at what she does, and she works like I always say. Her and the cinematographer are always the busiest people on set. On sets. Like they're the ones at the end of the day are like dripping sweat and just like exhausted. Like it's Sophie and it's Brian or David, whoever is shooting that film though. But like she has a good team that she builds around her as well that works with her. And they put in so much work. A lot of these departments are they're unsung heroes, but it doesn't happen without them. So and that's from sound and obviously wardrobe and just like from PAs to everything, so many production managers and assistant director Cameron. I've worked with him so many times. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to meet him, but Cameron is such like a great. He's Cameron Munson. He's the assistant director. I've never met anyone who just was so embodied, like such a horror movie enthusiast.
Yeah,
he's such a good person to have on set because he's funny. Everyone, all the actors love him, and the actors have to get along with the AD because that's the AD's job is to kind of herd actors around and say like you got to be here, you got to do this, you got to be on the set at this time, and but Cameron is so good at that. But also he comes to set every morning with a new like a whole new like Christmas ugly sweaters, but they're for Halloween, different movies and different Halloween movies every. And he'll put it in his call sheets every day. He'll put a fun horror movie quote that everybody's got to find, figure out what the quote's from some classic horror movie. But no, so yeah, there's so many people that are behind the scenes that just put in so much work into these films. And they all deserve so much love and support because they're just amazing people and also just amazing at what they do.
Yeah, he was at the counter, right at the drive-in.
Yes, he
was. In the drive-in scene?
That's him. That's Cameron, yeah.
Yeah, that's Cameron.
Yeah.
I wanted to meet him.
We want to meet him. We haven't met him yet. So Cameron.
That's right.
He's tough. He is tough to track down. I got to tell you, because in between Hell House movies, I never get to see him or interact too much with him. But because he's busy doing his own thing. He lives in Pennsylvania, though, but I think like 2 or 3 hours away from me, though. But I never have an opportunity to, especially a lot of people. The person I see the most in between is actually Sophie, just because her husband and my wife work together.
Okay.
And so that's how I got in touch with her from originally because I was looking for a production designer for A25, and her husband told Lauren, said, hey, my wife does this. He wasn't pitching his wife for the job, but he was just like, my wife does, she's into production design, wardrobe and all that. And then Lauren told me, she's like, I think I might have someone for you for A25. And then I reached out to Sophie and she was so amazingly creative and everything she did. And then I asked her after A25, I was like, would you ever consider working on a really low budget found footage movie? And she said, "Of course you would." So she had so much fun working on Origins as well, and her crew on that. And Jolene, who was her assistant on this last one, Lineage, she was amazing. But there's so many. Yeah, this has a big crew. We have a pretty big crew on this. You need that too for all the grip department, everyone in the camera department, Hugh and his team. They were amazing as well. Joey, who's our on-set boom operator, sound mixer on set, he's worked on a couple of Hell Houses now. His sound is amazing. So mixers never have a trouble because he records such great sound on set all the time that nobody ever has trouble in post with the audio when he does it. There's just so many amazing people that work on these films and put in so much effort. It's great though.
And Joe.
Can't forget Joe. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like Joe does, like he takes so many things off my off of me that I don't have to deal with because he's just putting out fires. I mean, he's doing other producers.
Yeah.
He's always just anything goes wrong, like Joe's on it, making sure that it's
Yeah.
handled and that I can just focus on directing. And
Right.
so when you're making a movie, you want to make sure you have a really good producer
Yeah.
in your corner, and that's what I've always had with Joe all throughout every single movie. But no, not only has he been a great producer though, but he's been working more into, he's been in front of the camera a bunch.
Yeah.
But he's also in 825. So
Yes.
find some small role for Joe. Because I mean, actually, like he's a producer. I think his passion is with filmmaking because he's a really good filmmaker as well. But he's actually a good actor.
Yeah.
So like he
We
could do it
love
all.
seeing him.
Yeah. We
So
love seeing him get killed off 4 times.
yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. He's got a variety of looks
So
because we could
great.
kill him off many times
Yeah.
Yeah.
on franchise and people didn't really know it was the same guy. So,
Yeah.
so
And he's also really great with promotion. Just like you, going out and talking with people and being open to interviews and, anybody that kind of wants to bring the Hell
yeah.
House franchise to light, like you guys are always like, yeah, let's do
yeah,
it.
because he plays the clown. That's
Mhm.
his signature thing. And he was at a horror convention out in LA last year, and he went as the clown. And he was walking around taking photos with everybody,
So
like,
cool.
and it's just like that's kind of promotion like
Oh,
that, that's awesome to have, and
yeah.
people seeing like the Hell House Clown is cool. I love it, but it's not as well known as like other clowns, like art or something like that. We're not
No.
we're never on that level, but this is cool that when Joe went out and did that, the people did recognize the house.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
knew
Yeah.
about it. Like even though
Yeah.
even though we're a very small franchise compared to others, that this is cool that you out in public, people recognize it. So
Right. Right.
always that was cool. And I saw some video of him like taking pictures with the fans, and he told me he's like, dude, he's like, and even in LA, there's a lot of people come up to me. And I was just like, to me, I always just think we're like nobody knows who we are. So that I'm always blown away. Anybody
Yeah.
came up and recognize, hey, there's the Hell House Clown. Like to me, that's
Yeah.
so cool. But so it's just cool to know that like our clown gets a little love sometimes. So
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
yeah, no.